Alright, we've been studying how to graph and using different equations. Let's say you're given a situation where you have a line that passes through 3, 4, you're given a coordinate, and you're given the slope. So you know that it passes through 3, 4, and it has a slope of 2. Well, we can graph this and move from there. So if I graph it, I have a line that looks something like this. Remember that if I have slope, it's positive. So it's a rise of 2 over a run of 1. Okay, so your graph should look something like mine. Now, let's review standard form. Remember that for standard form, we had ax plus b times y equals c, where a, b, and c have to be integers. And then we have slope-intercept form, where I have y equals mx plus b. You need to know these. M is your slope, and your b is your y-intercept. And then we're going to have point-slope form, which I'm going to show you how we get from slope-intercept form. So in order to figure out point-slope, let's look at this situation here and see if we can come up with an equation in slope-intercept form. All right, if I know y equals mx plus b, and I know a coordinate, and I know my slope, remember that m is my slope, and my definition of m was y2 minus y1 or x2 minus x1. Well, and I know my slope equals 2, and I know a y point, and I know an x point, so we're going to plug that into our slope. My y1 is 4, and my x is 3. And now I don't like having things in my denominator, so what I'm going to end up doing is multiplying both sides by this x2 minus 3. And what I do to one side, I've got to do to the other. And these cancel out, and I'm left with my x minus 3 times 2 equals y2 minus 4. Now let's just get rid of those sub 2's and simply call this x and y. At this point, well, let's switch the sides. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part, and I'm going to move it over to this side of my equals. I'm going to take this, I'm going to flip it. So this is what I should end up with. Do you agree that what I have down here is the same thing that I had up here? I have y minus 4, it's just on the side, and it equals 2 times the quantity, x minus 3. Hopefully you see this is the exact same thing. All right, this is considered my point-slope form. I'm going to walk you through this. So this right here is my y-coordinate. Let's go back up here to my coordinate. I had 3, 4. This was my y-coordinate. Well, look at this. It's right here now. And my x-coordinate is right here. And it's the quantity times x multiplied by my slope. Whoa. So my point-slope form becomes y minus my y-coordinate equals my slope times the quantity x minus my x-coordinate. And knowing this, I can end up putting it in this form and eventually work it back into something like this. So let's give you another example. All right, knowing what we just went through, I'd like you to take this equation right here, and I'd like you to graph this on your own. Pause me, let's see how you do, and I'll walk you through it and check. All right, looking at this equation, I can identify my slope as 1/2, it's this part right here, and I can identify that the coordinates I'm plotting my line through are 2 for my x-coordinate and 5. Notice it's not -2, that my formula is y minus my y-coordinate and x minus my x-coordinate. So here it's this number and this number that are my coordinates. Okay, so if I plot that, I have 2 here, and I'm going to go up to 5. So that's my first point. And my slope is 1/2, which means I'm going to go down 1 and over 2. So notice that I did this in reverse. I went down and left because it's -1 and -2 gives me a positive. And I'm going to do that again here. Down 1, left 2. Okay, and this should be my line. And I can plot this point and tell you that this is 0 and 4. And this is -2 and 3. And just to double check, my rise is 1 and my run is 2. Again here, my rise is 1 and my run is 2. Okay. So here's how I've graphed that. Now let me give you another one with a little bit of a twist. Let's say I give you this equation. All right, on your own, I would like you to please graph this equation. And I'd like you to find the slope and the x and y coordinates. Be careful here. Remember that you need to get it back into your proper form for point slope, where I have y minus y equals the slope times the quantity x minus my x coordinate. You need to get it in this. You might want to rewrite this first. Do this on your own and let's see where you go. All right, remember my equation for point slope is y minus y coordinate equals slope times the quantity x minus x coordinate. Okay, so let's look at putting this back in. I have y minus 5, that's okay so far, equals -2/3, my slope, times the quantity x minus, that's not right. I got a plus here. So remember that minusing a negative is the same as adding positive. So when I have this situation going on, I've got to remember that it's minus a -2. Because this situation right here ends up giving me my +2. So knowing this now, I can write my coordinates as my x is right here, it's -2, and my y coordinate is a +5, and my slope is -2/3. This is my slope, this is my x coordinate, and this is my y coordinate. All right, so always remember to rewrite it in point slope form. All right, now we can graph. You may need to adjust your graph if you didn't recognize that negative. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I'm going to go from point -2, +5, and my slope is -2/3, so I'm going to come down 2 over 3. 2, 3. And I'm going to do it again. Down 2 over 3. And what this tells me is that my coordinate here was -2, 5. This guy went down. And these should be the coordinates. You can see my graph was a little bit off, but I should have these coordinates plotted based off of identifying this. All right, let's look at doing another one similar to this. All right, do you want to write an equation of the line with a slope of -3 that passes through the point of -1, 7, and you want to write it in point slope form. Remember that that is y minus my y1 equals my slope, or m, times x minus x1. All right, knowing this and trying to get it into this formula, go ahead and see if you can do this on your own, and then we'll check your work. If it helps you to color code, think about it like this. Hopefully this will help you see this a little bit better. So I'm going to take my y minus my y1. That's the blue part. So I come back over here to my coordinate, and I plug my 7 in for my y1 and set that equal to my m, my slope, which was -3 times the quantity x minus, watch out for your negative here, keep it here, -1. All right, I'm just going to simplify this a little bit. Y minus 7 equals -3 times the quantity x plus 1. All right. Good. And that's your equation. That's all it is. I would like you to do another one just like this. All right. You do this one on your own. Write an equation of the line with a slope 2/5 that passes through 10, -8, and put it in point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Do it on your own, and we'll check your answer tomorrow.